Hey, this is Tyler with T-Jack Survival. I'm here with Matt Graham, and we're going to talk to you about minimalist footwear, so stay tuned. All right, guys, so let's talk a little bit about minimalist footwear, okay? What is it and why, I guess, is the questions that we want to answer. And then, should you choose minimalist footwear, what are some of the manufacturers that you can look at? So, What is it?
Well, for me, I started running in my teens. I was doing a lot of ultra distance trail running. And right away, I was attracted to being able to run more connected to the ground. So I started choosing shoes that got my feet close to the ground and really enjoyed that feel, that direct connection. And I think for people who are interested in survival, primitive skills, it gives you that feeling of being like wearing a moccasin or an ancient sandal. Gets you closer to the ground, which is better for stalking. And I think overall, it's just, that's the human evolution, is that we've been close to the ground, and then when you start raising yourself off in these big heels, then you're somewhat changing your evolutional status.
Mm-hmm.
So
I agree. For me, minimalist was I have flat feet. I carried a lot of weight in the military, and for me, I went looking for a way to correct foot pain that I had. And I started out with the Vibram 5-finger shoes, and then I went to Sandals. And in fact, this is the very first one I ever made. There was 2 layers of leather in there, and it's kind of smashed down. But I kid you not, these are still one of the most comfortable pairs of shoes I've ever used.
Yeah.
And it took me a little while to adjust, because if you're wearing boots that have stabilized your ankle for so long, now your ankle has to do its own job, then you develop some muscles. So there's a little bit of a learning curve as far as muscle memory, but once you get through that, it's phenomenal, because now my arch came back, the foot pain went away. I don't have these issues that I used to have because I stand correctly. It's helped with back issues. So for me, it was a bunch of years of military messed me up, and I needed to fix the damage. So going to a level stance, which you put your heels down and your body stands up straight, and it corrects all of these anatomical things. You're not made to be standing on a hill your whole entire life, which is essentially what higher heels are.
Yeah.
You're made to be flat.
Yeah.
So once you correct that stuff, that was my honest, that was my biggest drive, was I didn't want the pain anymore, and that fixed it.
Yeah.
So.
I've noticed too, like I've done a lot of long walkabouts. Like I used to actually migrate from Utah to southern Arizona in the winters, and did that about 7 times. And many times I brought something that was very, very similar to this, just solid leather, no rubber, no foam, no anything on there. And I noticed just spending a lot of time in footwear like that, I actually felt like my body was developing its own shock cushion rather than the shoe itself.
Exactly.
And I think that's just really critical to the longevity of our health and our bodies.
Exactly. Yeah, for me, being able, when I ran with big, like Brooks shoes, as an example, just your stereotypical running shoe, I plotted. As I watched myself in film and stuff, I would plod as I run, and it's just like thumping along. But you take those shoes off and you run barefoot, or with the minimalist shoe, and you have to run correctly. You don't have the option to just go blah, 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 you know?
Yeah.
It just gets rid of it. So I don't know, when it comes to minimalist, I guess that's what it is no shoes or low shoes. I look at it as, they call it barefoot footwear, which you're not barefoot, it's not footwear, right? So either you're barefoot or you're wearing shoes.
Yeah.
So I like to look at it as barefoot with a layer to keep the sharp things from cutting you.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So
yeah.
it's as barefoot as I can come and still be able to run across rocks and to run across these little goat head thorns that we have and to run across black hot asphalt.
Mm-hmm.
I can do that all just fine with these shoes without tearing my feet up.
Yeah.
And still feel the rocks and adjust to them and get that the exercise of stretching your ankles to move properly when you run, the exercise of landing correctly, and your agility level goes up, and you can run through things easier because you're lighter on your feet, you're more controlled. It's kind of like if you're wearing a cast your whole life and you take your cast off, it's going to hurt for a little while because you got to stretch, but
yeah, exactly.
then suddenly you're like, oh, I have all this dexterity and all this control and all this ability that I didn't used to have.
Yeah. I think when people put on like a really cushioned shoe, like a running shoe or something from the store, they put it on and initially it's like, oh, that
It feels so soft.
Feels good,
Yeah.
And then when you put on a minimalist shoe, right off the bat, you're like, oh, that's pretty hard.
It feels hard.
But like you said, once your body adjusts to it, it's almost addictive because you
feels
realize it feels right and you're running natural and you're running with good form.
Well, and you become stronger.
You do. Yeah.
You become stronger. Your joints are more in alignment, so the misalignment pain goes away. And I'm not throwing out scientific anything. I'm just saying I had pain and now I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's I've seen it in students too. I actually had a student do a long 450-mile walkabout with me. I guess more of a friend than a student.
You spend that much time with people. Yeah.
But he actually had knee pain when we started, and he wore his Hirachis and it was fine by the end.
Yeah, and this isn't something that you're going to go and do. Like, as an example, I was running about 8 miles every morning with my shoes when I tried to go into barefoot. I did 1.5 miles the first day, and I didn't run for about 7 days after that because it hurt. Yeah. My calf muscles were on fire. Yeah. I literally watched videos to say, what am I doing wrong with this? And found out what I was doing wrong is I was just running on my toes. I was afraid to let my heel hit. Yeah. You end up, your forefoot kind of hits and rotates in, and once you understand the way it should look and you kind of change that, your muscle memory adapts, and after a short amount of time, you don't think about it anymore. It's kind of like I got a little girl that's 16 months old, and she walks like this, right? Yeah. And once she gets it down, she's going to change, and she's not thinking about it. It just takes the adaptive period for a little while.
Yeah, definitely. Your feet are doing a lot more work, so you're gonna feel it in your Achilles tendon, your calf muscles,
all your stabilizers on the side,
everything. Yeah. But as a runner, like one thing that's very important to know, and I will throw this scientific data out. A lot of people do have knee pain, but a lot of times that's because of weaknesses down in their ankle, down their feet, as well as their hips. It's actually what's happening above and below the joint sometimes.
So it's shock loading it.
Exactly. So when you get in footwear like this, you're developing at least that lower portion of your leg that's been weak its whole life, and you're going to take some stress eventually off other parts of your body.
Exactly.
So that's pretty cool. So should we talk a little bit about some of these models here we got?
So we got what minimalist is. Okay, we got why. So what's the solution? For me, I guess the first thing I did, I researched Hirachis a long time ago. And these have been in my closet for quite some time because I've kind of gone through the phases. But this is literally 2 layers of leather that I glued together and some 550 cord that I twist like a natural material so that it wasn't pushing hard on my foot. I still really like these shoes. They look real ghetto. But they work really, really well, especially when it's crazy hot. These are some of the better ones that I use. Moving on from that, I put Vibram leather on the bottom Vibram rubber on the bottom of leather. And the reason why I'm liking these so much is because they are exactly the same shape as my foot. I cut them perfectly to my foot. No matter what manufacturer exists, they're going to be a little bit of variance because they don't have your foot to measure, and nobody's feet are the same. Some people have bigger big toes, some people have smaller. I have a bigger big toe, so I get that little peak right there, and that keeps my toe from running into things. But it also lets me know that when I buy the other shoes, I have to get a half size bigger, otherwise everything fits right but not the toe. So everyone's foot being unique, that's something to take into account. I then migrated to Luna Sandals, and these are my primary shoes. I wore these exact shoes in the jungle 2 months ago, and they've conformed to my feet, and I run crazy amounts of miles. These are the Origins, so they're literally made out of a hard rubber snow tire, and they still look almost brand new, and I've done hundreds and hundreds, probably thousands of miles. I think about it.
Yeah, that's an awesome sandal. Yep.
And it's the rubber. You just can't kill it. Right?
Yeah.
You just can't kill it. And I like the leather, but for running, I like the synthetic straps personally because they don't really change their shape or untie.
Yeah.
The leather, it fits a little softer, but when I say leather, I'm talking about the straps. They fit a little softer, but leather being leather, the knots come undone after 8 miles of running or more, depending. And I don't get that effect with the synthetic ones. So, talk to me about yours.
Cool. Yeah. So I started my first pair of Huaraches I made. I think I was in my late teens, maybe early 20s.
Back in the 1950s?
Yes, way back.
I'm just kidding.
And it was similar to this actually, just hunk of leather. And actually, right after I made them, I went down to Copper Canyon and I was running around there with the Tarahumara Indians. Yeah. And they loved my sandal. I think just the fact that a white man would be in a thin leather sandal.
Yeah, that's funny.
And and then I migrated from there and I started making Huaraches out of the thinnest tires that I could find. And I was running in those for years. And with the Born to Run movement in the book, it's inspired more people to go barefoot. And
there's a big push for me.
Big time. Yeah. And more manufacturers have come out and actually made some pretty cool versions of Huaraches as well as other minimal style footwear.
Yeah, definitely.
And
so I think it's good to note too, Ted from Born to Run is the guy that's running these Luna sandals. So that's arguably kind of where those guys came from.
Yeah, and so I really like Luna as well. Their sort of entry level model. It's kind of nice because it's super lightweight.
Those have seen some travel.
Oh,
they used to be a bigger size. I can tell they've been compressed.
Yes, these compress and form your feet like pretty fast, but they're super lightweight. These are a nice sandal if someone wants to get used to the feet.
This is the Oso?
This is called the Mono.
Mono, okay.
Yeah. So if someone wants to get used to the feel of a sandal, sometimes it's better to start out with something that's just light and soft.
Yeah, I did have actually a do-it-yourself version of those before I bought these, and they were great. They did help me transition now that I'm thinking about it. I eventually crushed them and got rid of them and bought these.
Yeah.
And I went for a harder sandal because I wanted it to be rigid. I didn't want the softness. But in the beginning, absolutely, soft is a really good idea.
Yeah, good point.
Gives you more of a learning curve,
right.
Less painful. So.
And if you want something that's even like a more barefoot feel than some of these provides, another good company is the Xero Shoes.
Yeah.
And they have. Their shoes are so flexible. It's really just a very thin piece.
It's really nice. You can just wad those up and throw them in a bag. You can hike in somewhere, like to a lake or a river, and then throw those on as an option. And they're just very, very minimalist. I think, personally, if you really want to go for the barefoot feeling but still have something and a manufacturer, that's probably the best direction to go.
Yeah, I agree. I've got a couple pairs of these that I really like, and I just like the feel. I feel barefoot in these, which is just really, really solid. And these are another Xero Shoes for people that like a different sort of lacing system.
Like a Z type shape on it.
Yeah, they call this the Z Trek.
My wife doesn't like stuff between her toes and ends up liking shoes like that because of that reason.
Yeah. And then there's another company called Earth Runners that I have to admit, I didn't like them as much in the beginning, but I'm liking them more now.
Did you have like a break-in period?
Yeah, it's just the fit was a little different for me, but I'm finding it seems better now. And this design I really like. This is actually a hemp insole, which is pretty cool. So like around here, it's a lot of steep terrain. I'm running on a lot of slick rocks, sometimes crossing through rivers and stuff like this. And this grips really well when it's wet or sweaty, like better than anything I've tried out so far.
When I'm using these, like when they were brand new, and I started to sweat before they kind of broke in, it started to rub on the bottom of my feet a bit. And I debated on whether or not I should have gotten a leather bottom for that exact same reason. So that might be a solution.
Yeah, so the leather's really nice for sweat for sure, but not for water, where this kind of does.
Yeah, the water, you got to immediately tighten them up, and then 15 minutes later when it dries, they're getting tight, and you got to loosen them up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this kind of adjusts for itself, which is nice, and you have a hemp strap. So.
Nice.
That's pretty cool. And then a lot of times, like in the past, I've tried to find really low riding running shoes and just modified them into a sandal during the summer months. And that way I don't have to wear socks, my feet can breathe. So that's always an option if you're just traveling and you don't have options to find one of these. Maybe you find just a low riding type of running shoe, and turn it into something more summer friendly.
Nice. You're the only person I've seen that does that. I'm going to try it, though. I've got some Ultras that I use. I think they're the Lone Peaks.
Yeah.
Those are my winter shoes when it's really cold.
Sure.
Because there's a little cushion, but no heel rise. So works perfect for winter months. But I'm gonna chop the top of them as soon as the summer comes along and see how they work.
Yeah, it's nice because maybe you find your absolute favorite running shoe isn't a Huarache, but it's a minimalist running shoe. You could have a sandal version and a regular version of it if you wanted to.
Very nice.
And then we're also sporting the Hana's Xero shoes because it's pretty nippy this morning. It's actually quite cold.
It's 21 degrees, so it's cold. So I was looking for. I can't go everywhere with sandals, unfortunately. There's some business meetings and stuff that you're going to end up needing to do, or go out to dinner, or whatever it is that you want to do, and you want to cover your toes up because people will give you a ration of crap. So these are a perfect answer for that. And they feel like they are just a cotton covered of these Xero shoes. So they feel like moccasins. I would say they feel like rubber moccasins. They're super comfortable.
Yeah.
I've done some crazy amounts of hiking, and I kind of abused mine a little bit just to see what it was like. Stays clean, still works, keeps my feet warm. Like it's in the low 20s right now. When I check down at the bottom of the hill, it's 21 degrees, so it's cold right now. My feet are fine. My feet are plenty warm with these shoes on. I have wool socks on that are thin, but they work great. And they aren't designed to run, but you can and still feel the same way. And then the good thing for me with these shoes are I don't go from wearing the heel-lifted shoes, going into the old bad habits, back to wearing the low-rise Huaraches and back and forth. So I'm not going to create that foot pain when I wear something like this during the times I can't wear sandals.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think the bottom line is if you can wear Minimalist Footwear, it really does it feels awesome.
Yeah.
You have a much better feel for the ground and a connection. But if you're gonna try this, definitely go slow, because if you've been wearing cushioned shoes, it's a huge adjustment on the body. It's gonna take some time. But
I would maybe even say walk a mile barefoot. I think that would be a great, or if you're not covering big distances, walk until you can start feeling like you're getting a little bit of lactic acid buildup in the muscles. I feel like I've just had a good workout. Then stop, put your shoes back on.
Yeah.
Next time, add some distance. I think a month maybe, and you'd be good. And everyone's different. I can't really put a solid number on it, but for me, it was about a month.
Yeah.
And I was able to go. So, cool. All right, guys. If you're interested in any of these, I'll leave links down in the bottom to all of the companies if I can get them all. If you got any questions, leave them down there. You got comments or any stories about your transition or any of this stuff, go ahead and leave them down there. And hit the subscribe button, then head on over to Matt's channel. It's Matt Graham. We tease him a little bit about his creativity and coming up with a channel name.
Hey, it was a long time ago. I'm not computer savvy like you are.
So drop Matt Graham into the search result, hit the subscribe button on his channel, come back, watch this video again, hit the subscribe button on my channel, and thanks for watching T-Jack Survival.